History is a funny word, like nincompoop or buffoon. To look at history is to look through the world's finest microscope, and if you ever thought that zooming in on Google Earth was amazing, then my friend, open up a history textbook on an event you thought you knew about and just watch the amount of information and hidden mysteries melt your trousers away. On the face of it, Yokohama is a lovely game about a lovely city blooming with some lovely industry and conducting some lovely trade, but in reality, things in Yokohama got very ugly indeed, quite a few more times than you would imagine, to the point where even Matthew Perry got involved. No, not that one. Could things be any worse? I'm sorry, I really shouldn't joke, because it turns out that Matthew Perry was a horrible person. Also the one in Yokohama. No, don't run away, please. I know what this looks like. It's sprawling, isn't it? And it doesn't exactly capture your imagination straight away, but Yokohama has captured our hearts. And you might be asking me right now, Efka, isn't this just another trading in the Mediterranean game with the Mediterranean replaced with Japan? And I would have to answer, yes, it is. But that's like saying that OK Computer is just another Britpop album. God, remember that video? That was weird, wasn't it? And good. And so is this game. That is, of course, not to say that Yokohama is for everyone. Obviously, if you are not into acquiring resources and trading them into victory points, because
points make prizes,
then you're not very likely to go gaga for Yoko. But if you're at least partial to the idea of a resource management game, then my friends, buckle your seatbelts, because you're in for a very rare treat. A 99% positive review from No Pun Included, and that hasn't happened since Great Western Trail. Yokohama is a worker movement game, which isn't just a dance I invented in my younger dancing days, but also an offshoot of worker placement games, largely popularized by designer Vital Lacerda. In Yokohama, you will control a single worker, the president, which represents you, who will move to different locations and then do actions there. Except this one can't stand for some reason, maybe because you're drunk. But that on its own does not a game make, and this is where Yokohama, just like the tires, brings in its twists. But first, I have an apology to make. You see all these wonderful wooden components with silk screen finishes, these metal chunky coins, these fishes that are actually delicious, and your presidents with funky stickers. Well, you're not getting any of these unless you back Yokohama on Kickstarter. This is the Kickstarter Deluxe copy, and it will not be available in retail, which means we're kind of leading you on. The reason for that is because, well, we backed Yokohama on Kickstarter ourselves, and getting a second copy for review would just be a little bit too much. So, in summary, apologies for leading you on. Your copy, if you buy it now, won't be as pretty. The first twist that Yokohama pulls is that before you send your mustachioed president onto a different location, you have to plonk down these tiny little assistants, and you get to plonk down 2 or 3, your choice. Except that if you put down 3, well, you have to put them down on different locations, meaning that you can be either greedy and plonk down 2 in one location and have a better power action, to which I'll get to in a second, or spread them out. And then once you've done that, your president will move. You can go to any location you like, as long as you can trace a path from your original location to the destination via locations that have your assistance. If you have to move through a location that has another player as president, then you have to pay that player 1 yen. Finally, when you land there, you get to evaluate just how strong your action is. For every assistant there, you'll get 1 power. For your president, you'll get 1 power. And for some other extra things, you might get another power as well. And your power will largely tell you just how much things you're going to get from that action. So if I have 3 assistants there, they can only carry 1 fish each, because they're lazy, because they're unpaid interns, and I just sent them there with promises of exposure. So I kind of have to go there myself as well and help out. but I'm only ever gonna carry one fish as well, because it's hard work, isn't it? It's just a lot to... fish is heavy. Oh, that was a hard day of unpaid internship and carrying fishes, but fear not, because after the day is done and your action is done, you get to retrieve all the assistants on that particular location from the board. The key phrase in that sentence being that particular location, because every assistance you've placed in the course of this game, and even on the previous turn, stays there, creating one of the sexiest puzzles in Euro games I've ever encountered, because every decision you made in this game matters and is coming back to haunt you on your next particular turn, and you're immediately already trying to figure out what is it that you can actually do. What do you want to place free assistance next time, and will that actually trace a path to the location you want to go to? And if you choose to place just 2 assistants, can you get yourself a tasty 5 power action, 5 power being the most you can accrue in this game, and getting yourself some extra bonuses for doing a cool thing. Now, I'm no maths genius, but after some very careful and considered research, I have discovered that 3 is in fact greater than 2. So why would you ever want to place 2 assistants on one location and not 3 on 3 different locations? Yes, it's true that in Yokohama you want to spread yourself out as much as possible, making sure that you have assistants going everywhere, but sometimes you want to be speedy as well. If you perform a 4 or 5 power action on any given location, you are then allowed to, in addition getting all the rewards, also build a shop or a trading house, assuming you have one available. Once you do so, you will get a reward, an additional reward, and that reward depends entirely on which space you put this shop on. And of course, the choice of spaces is greater if you get there first. On top of that, in every future action, when you return to this location, that shop or trading house will then add 1 extra power to all your future actions. Finally, if you are the first person in the location to perform a 5 power action, you will get to claim this little tile, which is distributed randomly at the start of the game. And that is an additional reward, something extra just for being awesome, like a bucket of fish or something. It's true in Yokohama most of the time you want to play it cool, like you're on a first date in an all-you-can-eat buffet. But sometimes you just have to go for the double plater. And no matter what you do in Yokohama, it always makes sure that you feel rewarded. But that's not to say that the game is easy. You still have to play well, but you are forgiven for mistakes, and you are forgiven if something unpredictable happens, because you always have options. Let's say you wanted to go to the silk mill because you have free assistance there, and sending your president would give you 4 power, which would net you free silk. That's great, but Red's president went in there, so you can't go in there anymore. You still have plenty of options. You could go to the employment agency where you'll get a free power action and get to take off 2 things from your warehouse, be they new shops, new trading houses, which score you loads of points and even give you an opportunity to get some yen, or just get out more assistance so you have more to put out onto the board. Or alternatively, maybe you have assistance on the research center, which lets you buy cool technologies, and they are technologies. They break the game, they change the rules, but only for you, and that's cool because you can get something like a tram that will instantly teleport you anywhere you want to, anywhere on the board, in this weird idyllic world where public transportation does exactly what it's supposed to. Every turn you're getting something, whether it's silk or tea, or that feeling when you're filming a board game review and trying to describe the feeling that you're feeling but can't quite describe the feeling that you feel. What I mean is, every turn you're having fun, and whilst that's not very strong critical words, but it's what's happening. You're having a good time. What's so nice is that you always have plans. At the start of the game, you get a contract card and it'll list some resources that you need to acquire and pay up, and then as a reward you'll get points and maybe perhaps other resources. At every single turn, you are navigating a complex maze of decisions, a maze that you have created yourself together with other players. Yokohama is relentless at reminding you that you can't do everything you want, but that's only because you've made your own bed, and that bed don't fit your dreams and ambitions. And whilst you are filled with decisions in every moment of the game, it never feels like a slog, because Yokohama whizzes by just like that. So if you were to ask me right now whether you should go and get Yokohama, I would have to say, my friend, drop your pants down and put on the ones that have your wallet in, and go to the shop and get yourself a copy, because Yokohama isn't just good, it's one of the best games we reviewed this year and possibly even last year. Yes, it is just that amazing. If you're at least partial to a game where you get resources and then trade those resources into points, then you would have to be inhuman not to enjoy this game. And yes, it is vast and sprawling, but that's just because of its modularity, and that's another great point, because every time you set up the game, the puzzle will be completely different and you'll have to figure it out all over again, giving it copious amounts of replayability. So yes, you should absolutely go and get yourself Yokohama. Unless, yes, there is a problem. This is MPI, there's always a problem. And in Yokohama's case, that problem is called the two-player mode, which turns this game from OK Computer into Pablo Honey. I know, we were so close, right? Here's what happens. In a two-player game, you slash the map in half, meaning that all of the tension you've just had figuring out how this movement puzzle works, it is entirely gone, because you never feel challenged about getting anywhere at all. And because you're only playing with two players, you only have one other president to block off your actions, which basically almost never happens. On top of that, this technology board, well, it kind of becomes gate-breaking because it's easy to acquire pretty much anything you want, and these are not entirely well balanced. You can set up pretty game-breaking combinations very, very quick, and the disparity in points can sometimes reach magnificent levels, which is never ideal. I don't want to slight the two-player mode too much, because it's still a nice, breezy experience of just, you know, placing your man and getting some resources, or woman, and having a nice evening in. But if I had to, I would never choose to play the two-player mode again. But aside from its wonky two-player mode and somewhat sprawling appearance, there really isn't much else to slight in Yokohama, and we can't help but notice the wonderful work that Ryoko Hayashi did at illustrating Yokohama. It looks pleasant, demure, and always inviting to play. And yes, it's not really colorblind friendly, which isn't a good thing, but aside from that, we think it looks lovely. On a final note, we really appreciate the ironic fact that Yokohama was designed by a Japanese designer, and Yokohama is a game about Japan opening up itself to foreign technologies, embracing them and using them to boost their own industry, whereas Yokohama is a board game designed by a Japanese designer that's embracing mechanisms that were developed in the West and then applying them in a game that does it so much better than its predecessors. So there you go. If that wasn't a glowing endorsement, I don't know what the hell is. If you enjoyed this video, you should really subscribe to this channel, no pun included, the channel that you're watching right now, because you'll get many more board game reviews. And most importantly, you won't just get any board game reviews, you will get viewer-powered reviews. Some of our Kickstarter backers even tell us what to review, which is great, because we love for you to be a part of our family. And most importantly, because we're sponsored by you, we're not really influenced by distributors or publishers or retailers or anyone, apart from the growing hype and everyone screaming on Twitter about how amazing games are. But anyway, you will always get the fresh, hottest takes from the board game oven. And talking of ovens, our previous last week's video even had an oven in it. You should check it out. It was pretty spiffin' spicy.